Okay, in these videos I'm going to go through the project that we did over the 2 days of the course. I'll split it into 4 parts, one for each of the different sort of mini games that we made. To actually get the original files that we had, the sounds and the graphics, you can download them on the Teacher Hub inside Learning Technology. There's a button at the top for app making here, and inside this one, if you click on resources, you'll see here it says click here to download all the files from the example project done during the workshop. So loading up GameSalad, which actually if you haven't got it downloaded, you can actually download it for Windows or for Mac here as well at the side in the downloads area. So we start a blank project and make this a little bigger. So the project that we were dealing with was an iPad landscape project. So we're going to change it to that. Leave all the other settings the same. So we'll go into the scenes first and we'll actually create all of the scenes that we'll need. So we had a menu, and then we had the Monster Whack game rolling, missing number game, and then the control game as well. And then we had one extra scene then for game over. Okay, so we've got all of our scenes set up. So we'll start with the menu. First thing we're going to need to do is to bring in all these images and sounds from that download. So I've got them on here. So okay, so all the graphics, select all of those, drag them in. And all the sounds then as well, the same. Okay, so where we're going to start with our menu then, we're going to create a background actor to act as the background on the menu. So we'll bring in this title 1 image there. I'll just rename it as menu background. And on this one, because we want it to keep changing around, we're going to use an animate behavior in here, and we've got those 2 different images that are slightly different. So if we drag those in, make it about 4 frames a second, go back, drag in this background first, okay, and then preview that, and we'll see then it'll do a little bit of spinning for us. So next things we'll need to bring in all of the button graphics that we might need. Okay, and we can then place those wherever we like. On the page. Okay, we may then bring in just any of the graphics that you'd want on here, but I'll just bring in for now the title to go in the middle. Okay. So something else that we need on here is for it to start the music. So we can choose any actor really to put this music in. So I'll just use the app making title, sounds, and then the music's just here. So we can drag that in, and we want it to loop. So we'll go back, preview that. Okay, so simple menu page there. So what we want to happen then is obviously we link these buttons now to the different mini games that we've got. So we'll double click up here to do the missing number one first. So very simply to create a rule that when touch is pressed, we will have a little sound. That'll be nice. And then simply a behavior to change the scene to the missing number game. Okay, then we'll just do that for all the others. So the Monster Whack. Actually, I could be lazy and just copy and paste that. So we click on the header, and then we copy, go into the next one, and click in this box first, and paste. So this one's going to change then to the Monster Whack game. And then rolling will go to the rolling game, and the control one then after that. Okay, so they all should now link to the different pages. We'll just test that out. Okay. So at this point we're just going to make sure that we're saving as we go along. Okay, so we'll start now with the Monster Whack game. So we'll change the scene from here, go to the whack scene here. Okay, so here's our blank canvas where we're going to start with. So first things we're going to bring in, make some of these images into some actors. So we've got the moon here, which we'll make bigger and lower it down to about here. Okay. What we might as well do at this point is to make a back button that goes back to the menu. So we'll just use this one here. And the rules for the back button, very simply, that if touch is pressed on the back button, then we're going to have it just reset the game. So it'll take us right back to the beginning and reset everything. We could put a sound with that as well. Why not? Okay, so we can drop that back button into this game as well somewhere. Just drop it up here for now. Okay, so first thing we want to do then, we're going to create the monster actors that are going to go in the middle. So we'll create a new actor just this way here, and we'll call this one Monster 1. Now, I'm just going to place this in just here. Now, Monster 1 is going to need some rules going in him, so just here. So first thing we said that was we want him to appear after a random amount of time. So we will actually we'll just create timer first. So after a random number of seconds between 3 and 8, then this one is going to change its image to become one of the monster ones, so we'll choose the red one. So it'll change to that. Now if you remember, we said that we need to make sure that it changes between being invisible and being red, and kind of flipped backwards and forwards. So to do that, we're going to have to give an image to this. It doesn't have one at the moment. So we're just going to use this transparent one. So if we go back to see that, it's now invisible. It is here still, but it's got this transparent image on it. So we go into here. We actually need to wrap this inside a rule. So we'll click on it, put a rule here. So actually, the rule is that when its own image is transparent, then after a random amount of seconds change to that. We then need to create another one that says that when its image is now red, after another random number of seconds, so it could stay on the screen for between 1 and 3 seconds. So after that amount of time, then it can then change its image back to being transparent again. Okay, so if we go back and play that, we'll just save before we do that. It should now pop up at some point between 3 and 8 seconds. There it is, and then should disappear again. And then we'll keep coming back, because one event keeps triggering the other as he changes between transparent and red, which is great. Okay, so other things we need in the monster. We need a rule basically that says that when he is hit, so we'll create a rule here that says when he receives a touch, first off it's going to play a sound, so we'll take that one. Okay, so when it's touched it plays that sound. Now at the moment that will happen at any time, even when it's invisible, because it doesn't tell it that. So we're going to add another one here to say that only do that when its image is red. So it says here all conditions are valid, so it must be pressed and it must already be red before this will happen. So we can just test that now. Nothing at the moment. And nothing again when it's gone. Okay. So that works, but we want other things to happen as well when you actually touch this one. First thing we want is a little graphic to appear on top so that you can see that you've actually touched it. So for that here we've got these hit ones here. So if I just choose one of these and place it in here as a new actor, basically then we want in the monster, when touch is pressed, there's a behaviour here for spawn actors, so we want it to create that actor on top of this one. But obviously it won't go away again, so you'll keep getting more and more of them build up as you hit it. So we need to put a rule inside this one that basically says, well, not a rule, a timer really, that it only appears after 0.1 seconds we destroy it, so it'll disappear again. So we'll demo how that looks. Okay, so that works okay. So next things then that we want to do, obviously when we're tapping it like this, we want it to actually be building up some score. So to create the score on here, what we do is to create an attribute here for the game. So it's basically information that the computer remembers. So we want an integer, so a whole number here for the score. So we'll call this one score, and it starts at 0, so that's fine. So basically now within the monster here, when these things are happening here, so when it's being when the touch is happening here, we want to score a point. So we're going to change that attribute. So it's a game attribute called score, and we're going to change that attribute to score plus 1. Okay, so it adds 1 to the score every time that monster is touched. Okay, so really that's kind of the basics of this. We may just add just another sound perhaps. Okay, when he changes into the red one here. But really that's kind of the basic rules for the monster. So as we're now happy with one of those, we can then duplicate this, copy and paste it twice, and we'll rename these. So we've got monster 2 and monster 3 just here. So monster 2, we don't want it to be the red one, so we're just going to change it perhaps to the yellow one here, making sure we then change these references here, so it's yellow here. Going back, monster 3, we'll choose another colour again, so we'll use the green one here. Okay, so now we're going to drag monster 2 and place it somewhere. Okay, so that one there, and monster 3 we'll place here. Okay, so that's our monsters now in place. So if we preview this now, we should get 3 different monsters appearing in different places. And we can hit each of these ones. Test my back button as well at the moment. Yeah, which brought us back, okay. So obviously we need to display the score somehow, so we've got some more images here we can turn into actors. So if we drag up the score block, the score one here, and this one is simply going to have a display text in it here that's going to be displaying game score, and we'll make it black. change the font and up the size a bit as well. Okay, so we'll drag that one in. So we've now got a record of score that's going on here. So let me just save, play this one. You can see the score there. We should build up by 1 every time. Yep, it's working great. Okay, so the game now works to some extent, but we need a kind of limit on this, or when the game ends. So we'll do that by putting on a timer that counts down, basically. So we'll give 30 seconds to play the game. So to do that, we're going to create another new attribute at the top for the computer to remember. So again, it's an integer, whole number. We'll call this one timer, and we'll give it a value of 30 to start off, and count down from 30. So going back into here, what we need to do is create another actor that's going to display this timer. So we'll just use the empty box here. I'll call it timer here. And then inside this one, we're going to set a few rules. So it wants to display a game timer that we just made, and again in black. And do the same settings we had for the other one. Okay, but also it needs to count down, so we're actually going to use a timer rule here to say that every 1 second we're going to change the attribute game timer to game timer -1. So go down by 1 every 1 second. Obviously we need it to actually do something when it hits 0, so we'll create a rule here that the attribute game timer equals 0. Then we'll want to change the scene to game over, and we'll put a sound to go with that as well. Lovely. Okay, so we can test now that that works. No, we can't, because we didn't put the timer actually onto the page, so that's always helpful. Okay. Okay, so you see the timer at the top counting down. Okay, the game over page is currently empty. So, straightforward. So we'll save again now. So actually the game over page we might as well work on right now. So if we go to that scene, and we'll put in this same background actor that we had on the title page. And simply all we want on here is we wanted to show you the score that you just managed to get. So we can just drag in the score actor again in the middle. And then we'll have a back button that'll take us back to the menu. So obviously that'll read 0 at the moment, and that'll bring us in. So that's the first kind of game done. So let's go right through from here into here. So first part done, we'll save it there. Part 2 will continue with the rolling one next.